She was simply attentive. She noticed how the water darkened before rain, how fish disappeared when anger filled the village, how reeds bent even when there was no wind. She fetched water every morning, walking the same path along the riverbank, greeting the baobab tree that leaned like an old watcher, greeting the stones that marked the shallow crossing. That morning began like all others, with sunlight breaking gently across the water, as if the river had nothing new to reveal. It was not the cry of an animal caught in thorns, nor the call of a bird, nor the moan of wind between leaves. It was grief, slow, heavy, and tired. The kind of sound that comes from something that has been strong for too long and finally broken. Amara stopped walking. The water calabash slipped slightly in her hands, but she did not notice. The sound came again, closer now, pulling her toward a bend in the river where the current slowed and the mud thickened. There, tangled among reeds and darkened roots, lay a being the stories warned about but never fully described, a mermaid. Her tail was streaked with dried blood and mud, its once bright scales dulled like old metal. Her skin glowed faintly, as if moonlight were trapped beneath it, but the glow flickered weakly, like a dying fire. Her hair spread across the wet earth in dark strands, and her eyes, those eyes, were filled not with magic, not with anger, but with terror. Tears slid down her cheeks and fell into the river, and where they touched the water, the current shivered, as if the river itself were wounded. Amara could not move. She knew the warnings. Water spirits were not meant for human hands. They carried blessings and curses in equal measure. To help them was to invite destiny. To ignore them was to invite regret. The elders said, when spirits walk the earth, wisdom must walk beside fear. Amara felt fear gripping her chest, tightening her breath. But stronger than fear was the ache she felt when the mermaid reached out with trembling fingers, too weak to pull herself free. The mermaid spoke, and her voice sounded like water slowed by sorrow. She said her name was Nalia, daughter of the deep bends of the river, keeper of its songs and memories. She said iron had torn her flesh, iron traps set by men who no longer honored the river's laws. Without the river's strength flowing through her, she could not heal. The sun burned her skin, the mud held her tail like a curse. Night would bring hunters, or worse, forgetting. For a water spirit, to be forgotten was a second death. Amara knelt. Her hands shook as she gathered large leaves and laid them gently over Nalia's exposed skin, shielding her from the sun. She poured water over the wounds, whispering the same soothing words her grandmother used when healing children. She did not know if spirits could hear human comfort, but she spoke anyway because silence felt cruel. Nalia watched her closely, disbelief softening into something like hope. "I will not leave you," Amara said, the promise escaping her lips before she fully understood its weight. At that moment, the river quieted. Even the insects seemed to pause. Promises, the elders said, were not meant to be spoken lightly near water. For 3 days, Amara returned again and again. She hid Nalia beneath woven reeds and branches, disguising her from passing eyes. She brought crushed herbs, cool mud for the burns, fresh water from deeper currents. She spoke to Nalia of the village, of the old songs her grandmother sang, of how children were taught to greet the river before drinking from it. Nalia listened, sometimes smiling faintly, sometimes weeping again, not from pain, but from memory. She told Amara of a time when humans and river spirits shared boundaries and respect, when no one poisoned water without fear, when iron was not placed where it could wound unseen lives. She said the river was weakening, not because of drought, but because promises had been forgotten. Every broken promise weighed on the water like stone. At night, Amara stayed awake, listening for footsteps, for whispers, for danger. The village drums echoed faintly in the distance, reminding her how close and how far she was from the life she knew. Fireflies gathered near the reeds, glowing softly as if standing guard. Sometimes the river hummed low songs that vibrated through her bones. She did not understand the words, but she understood the meaning. Watch, wait, endure. On the fourth day, danger came. Men arrived at the riverbank carrying nets and spears, whispering of strange sightings, of fortune hidden in water flesh. Amara stepped forward before she could think. Her voice trembled, but she did not step aside. She told them the river was sacred that day, that spirits walked openly, that disrespect would not go unanswered. Some laughed. Others hesitated, uneasy in ways they could not explain. Then the water rose, only slightly, only enough to wet their ankles, but cold enough to bite, heavy enough to warn. The men backed away, muttering. The river did not chase them. It had made its point. That night, under a full moon, Nalia's strength returned. The river deepened where she lay, currents lifting her gently, welcoming her home. Before leaving, she placed her hand on Amara's forehead. The touch burned and cooled at once, leaving no visible mark, but something changed inside her. Nalia said, "Your promise has bound you to the river. When it cries, you will hear it. When it heals, you will grow strong." Then Nalia slipped beneath the surface, her tears dissolving into the current, not as sorrow, but as gratitude. Years passed. Amara grew taller, her voice grew steadier, her listening eyes grew sharper. She became known as one who understood water. When the river darkened, she warned the village. When fish disappeared, she reminded them of forgotten laws. She taught children to greet the river again, to offer thanks, to remember. The river flowed clearer, life returned. And on quiet mornings, when the sun touched the water just right, the elders swore the river whispered a name, not the mermaids, but the girls. For in the land of stories, it is not power that reshapes the world, it is mercy that remembers its promises.